Hey everyone, Frankenstein here, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about bands I love. More specifically, I guess, a top 5 of bands that I adore. So I thought I'd do a top 5 and I'd give a little bit of a musical history of me. I don't know why I spoke like that. If you're interested in finding out who I love, which bands I love, then keep watching. Okay, you guys, so I'm gonna start this off, and I'm embarrassed by it, but growing up, like my teenage years, I was a teeny bopper. I loved the Backstreet Boys. Like, they were my shit. They were everything to me. And living in Australia, you know what the thing that sucked the most was? Is that throughout my whole teenage years, they never came here once. Not fucking once. Nope, that's right. So I devoted my life, my teenage life, to a group that never came to my country. And in hindsight, looking back on it now, I feel like I wasted my life. Like, not wasted my life, but I wasted my time. It's so hard when you love a band, especially a band that's huge. Like, Backstreet Boys were big back in the late 90s, okay? They were huge. And for them not to come to Australia, that's like a huge kick in the face. So silly me back then should have been like, no, this is not right. I'm not gonna like that band anymore. But I did. I was obsessed with Nick and AJ, but that's a whole nother story. But I did. I was a real teeny bopper growing up. I liked the Backstreet Boys and I listened to dance music, and I still do listen to dance music. That's not changed, but just not as frequently. Whilst I would probably say pop was like top 40 radio, let's say, was a huge part of my life. As I grew older, as I graduated from high school and, you know, I become an adult and started my real life, my musical tastes changed, and I found that I was liking things that were a bit more heavier, or what was deemed heavy for me, you know, like I didn't kind of just jump straight into metal and be like, yeah, this is my thing. I kind of slowly progressed my way into it. So one band, and this is the first band that's on my list, and the reason that they take the first place for me is because I hold them very near and dear to my heart, and I kind of credit them as they were my gateway into metal. So the first band on my list, and the band that kind of introduced me to heavier sounds, is Linkin Park. Now, funnily enough, Linkin Park, when they first came out with One Step Closer, I did not like it because I was still in my stupid teeny bopper phase. So I can't say that I was with them from the start because I wasn't. However, when Meteora came out, their second album, I was all over that shit. That was an amazing album. And as I mentioned, they were kind of what got me into heavier kind of stuff. I know they were, you know, I guess considered new metal. But I listened to Meteora and I loved it. It was an album that really resonated with me at the time. So I went back and I listened to Hybrid Theory, and the more I listened to Hybrid Theory, the more I loved it, and the more I was picking songs out of it and I guess associating with it, you know, and then all of a sudden One Step Closer was like the shit, you know, it became kind of the song that I really was like, yeah, I'm behind this. Shut up when I'm talking to you. You know, like, there was anger. I was going through some shit, and it was a bit, you know, with a boyfriend, and I was like, yeah, this is how I feel. So Linkin Park, that's one of the reasons I absolutely adore Linkin Park. The other reason I love them is because of the group of friends that I made because of Linkin Park. So I was a frequent member on their message boards, maybe in the mid-2000s. Oh, I feel like I'm dating myself, but I was on the message boards and I made a ton of good friends. I'm still friends with them now, you know, I have them all on Facebook. We probably don't speak often like we used to, but you know, we are in touch with each other. We kind of grew together and you know, we know what's going on in each other's lives. So you know, Linkin Park for me, it's not just a music thing, it was a friendship thing as well. It was connecting with other people, and even though they were all around the world, it was connecting with people who were like-minded and who were also going through things and who also like the same music as you. So for that reason, they are number one. And also, just randomly, in 2008, I went overseas to work in Canada, and at the time they were doing Project Revolution, which was like their little mini festival. And I had worked 6 months, I was on a working holiday, and I had worked 6 months in Canada, and then I had a big fight with the girl I went with because we didn't see eye to eye, let's just put it that way. And so I quit my job and I flew to the States, and I flew in just for Project Revolution. And soon after that, I left the country and come back home to Australia. The things you do for the bands you love. I don't particularly love the direction that they've gone in. I feel they've gone very electronic, and I want to say they've matured more, and normally maturing is not a bad thing. But I'm fairly sure I did read a comment once where Mike was like, we're not the angry, you know, 20-year-olds that we used to be, so we don't make angry music. And I'm like, that's a fair point. But at the same time, I mean, look at all these metal bands. Look at Metallica. They make angry kind of music. And, you know, they're all grown in their 40s, in their 50s, and they have kids, and they're not necessarily angry, but they can still make that music. So I'm not a fan of the direction they've gone in. However, I will still buy all of their albums. I will go and see them when they come to Australia. I will see them every time. They hold the record for me for the most times I've seen one band. I think I've seen Linkin Park like 8 times. Because I choose to support them because of how they supported me. And it's, you know, they will probably never know this, and I'm sure it's the same for a lot of fans around the world. I'm sure they have been touched by Linkin Park in one way or another, but this is my feelings towards Linkin Park, and this is why they will forever be a band close to my heart. I don't care if they, you know, they could go and start making reggae music for all I care, and you know, I will still support them. But yeah, they're number one on my list. The rest of these are in no particular order, but I will just list them as 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the second band I have on my list actually has to do with Project Revolution. So they actually tie in with Linkin Park. When I went to Project Revolution, it kind of opened my eyes to bands I had never seen or never heard of before. I'd never heard of Atreyu, but I just fell in love with Atreyu. I had never heard of the Street Drum Corps, and I love those guys. And another band, and this is the band that take the number 2 spot for me, another band that I saw at Project Revolution that blew my mind were 10 Years. I remember standing there and it was pouring with rain, and Jesse, the lead singer, came out, and at this time, back in 2008, he had those long-ass dreadlocks, and he came out in a, like, dress pants and a shirt and a vest, and he was just beautiful. And I don't just mean physically the way he looked, but his voice, holy shit. Like, I had never heard a voice like that before in my life. And it just, like, it just transported me. I just fall in love every time I hear his voice. The tone of his voice just takes me away. So that was the first time I had ever seen 10 Years, and I just was a fan like that. And I was lucky enough to see him again. They actually came to Australia for Soundwave last year, I think it was, and it was just the greatest time of my life. So I love 10 Years. They take up the second spot, the 10th spot. They take up the second spot on my list. The third band I like is actually a solo artist. The third person on my list is Rob Zombie. And the reason I've put Rob in third place and as a solo artist is because I kind of missed the whole White Zombie era. I missed out on all of that, but I love Rob. I just, his music, anyone who says you can't dance to metal music is a liar. Rob has just really infectious grooves and he makes really good music. He makes good movies too. And he has a special place in my heart also because his concert was actually my first date with my current boyfriend. So it's really special to me, but I just dig Rob Zombie. I love the band too. I mean, John 5 is amazing and Piggy D is so awesome, and yeah, I love Rob Zombie. I don't know, there's no other way to explain it. So Rob comes in at third on my list. Next up is Alter Bridge, and I love Alter Bridge because, again, it's a voice thing, and Miles Kennedy to me just has a God-given voice. He is awesome and the songs are awesome, and I actually came across Alter Bridge through the WWE because Metalingus was Edge's theme song, and I'm like, this song is kind of cool, like, you know, this is a bit awesome. And you know, on doing research I was like, these guys have awesome songs. And then I was like, these guys used to be Creed minus Scott Stapp, and so, you know, it just works, and I adore Miles Kennedy. He's one of the coolest frontmen in rock and metal. So Alter Bridge is definitely number 4 on my list. The last band on my list is not definitively the last band because I actually do love this band a lot, but it's Slipknot. Now I've seen Slipknot 3 times in concert, and for me, it's just a culmination of loving the music that they put out, and also just some of the band members, or most of the band members. You know, even through the whole Joey controversy, I did like Joey a lot. But, you know, sometimes I guess a band's got to do what a band's got to do. And also with, you know, losing Paul Gray, they have been through a lot. But I love the music, and I love Corey Taylor as a frontman. You know, I think he's very charismatic, and he has a great voice. I think his voice is getting better as he ages. But I kind of came into Slipknot a little bit later than most people. My brother was actually a fan of them before I was. But, you know, for me, I think I came in kind of during volume 3. So I, you know, was kind of halfway into their career, I guess. But, you know, again, I research, I go back, and there are songs on the self-titled album that I just adore, and that have kind of, you know, become my jam. But yeah, I love Slipknot, and you know, say what you will about them. I'm not going to say that all the bands I love everyone should love, because they shouldn't. Music is interpretational, and you know, it has meaning, different meaning to every kind of person. So the bands I like, you necessarily will not like, and that's okay. So yeah, that's my top 5 bands. They're the bands that really have influenced me in my adult journey and my adult life. Let me know what bands you're into. If you're into metal, what kind of bands do you love listening to? If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And until next time, I'm Nattie Frankenstein, and I will see you later.